No, 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 no.
It's not going well so far. So I wanted to do a story about Temu tools. I want to try and make it relevant to people that watch this channel, beginners. So if you're in your first year of woodworking, should you jump on Temu and buy yourself some of the kit you need to get started? I'm a sucker for two things. One, shiny new things that help with the woodworking. You may call them the essentials. And two, cheap tools. So what I wanted to do was to go on Temu tools with no plan in my mind, no tools that I particularly was looking for, and to find what took my fancy. But I did have to set a few safety rules for myself, and that is, if a tool looks like it could chop your arm off, don't buy it. So you will not see in this video a chainsaw that runs off your drill, or a grinding disc that looks like it could cut through your leg. I didn't allow myself the opportunity to do any research price-wise, didn't compare it with Amazon, but I have done that since. So with each item that I show you, I will tell you whether I won or lost price-wise, but I will also say, is it worth getting? And we'll test it. And here's the irony. Next time you watch a Temu video, check for two things. One, a paid sponsorship label in the top corner, and two, Temu affiliate links in the description. You see, it's not a problem getting sponsored to show tools. In fact, my last video I did was exactly that. But it is harder to speak the truth if you've been given them for free, or if you get money for other people clicking on them. Now, you see neither of these in here. I spent £140 on 15 items. And the irony, I had an email in my spam from a month before I decided to even do this video from Temu offering me a huge amount of budget to go and buy things on them and affiliate links to put in afterwards. So I replied, thank you, no thank you. I've already spent £140 and I'm going to show my viewers a real and honest opinion on everything I've bought. It doesn't feel good from the start, and every single Temu Tools video you watch will say the same thing. This is not a good way to transport precision tools. Firstly, an orange bag, an envelope, a bag, an envelope, a bag. At least put some cheap plastic around it, something that's going to protect it. Let's start small. What the heck is that? I'm hoping this is part 1 of 2 for my dowel cutter that I ordered. Otherwise, item 2. We're on item 2 and I'm telling you exactly why I've just said packaging. I hope you can see this, because this and this is not enough for transporting from China to the UK a precision tool. If this comes to you square, I would imagine it's a pretty good piece of kit. If it comes to you like this, it is trash. Now, there is one benefit with having this come through, and that is for me to give you the best bit of advice I was ever given when I first started making these videos. You can buy cheap squares, you can buy cheap tools, but when it comes to squares, have one square in your shop that you truly trust, that is infallible, if you like, whether it's a machinist square or a combination square. I have this. This is my Starrett combination square. It is the square that I test all other squares against. And when I need a precision bit of work doing around my workshop or on something I'm building, this is the one I go to. Look at that. Not a bit of light coming through there one bit. But because of this, it's rubbish. I paid £12 for it, and for a similar size and similar build, you can find them on Amazon for £18. Okay, future Mark here. Been painting. I did buy the Amazon one. Haven't opened it yet, but look, it comes in a box. Perfectly straight. I did have to go slightly bigger because That was the nearest comparison and slightly pricier, but so long as it's square, which I'm going to check against my Starrett, and I'm going to check this way. Make sure we've got a piece of wood with one edge you know is straight. Draw a line, turn it over, draw another line. Now don't go on top because you won't be able to see if they're parallel. That is good enough for me. While looking for this, I also saw this. Now, you guys know that I love a PICA pencil, but you were right on the last one. The lead's too soft and it is quite blunt. Great for doing large construction work, rough cutting, but you need something precise. Well, they've just brought out a clicky mechanical pencil. Where this pencil really comes into its own is the other feature of this marking square. And I'm really glad that I found it because I would have struggled to get the older PICA through this. So if you want to mark a line along a piece of work, maybe somewhere that you're going to drill holes and you want them all to be in a line, and you want it to be a certain distance from the side of that piece, very simply take your pencil, pop it in the appropriate hole, drag it along the piece, and you've got a line marked all the way along parallel to that edge. It's a really great tool to start marking your work and to start adding a bit of precision. And that pencil works perfectly with it. Let's keep delving in. For goodness sake. They couldn't get it to me in one piece. It was £5.50 from Temu. You could probably make your own. I should have taken the freebies. Wonder if the freebies would have arrived in one piece. Anyway, next one. This one couldn't have been broken. This is a really simple bit of kit. I want to stick my pencil straight in the middle and I want to be able to mark the centre of a board. That's it. It was £2. It'll do one job that I want it to do. If you want to get it on Amazon, it's a £5. I just happened to have this offcut from when I was practicing on the laser. You clip this on the top with one side touching that side, one side touching that side, hold it tight, pencil in, and then that gives you your centre line. This is a keeper. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still a little bit bitter about that little square. And I spotted something in the bag that I'm really hoping is going to bring me a little bit of pleasure. However, this is a piece of precision aluminium in this squished up bag, protected by what? A sheet of thin bubble wrap. I feel like one of the lucky ones here because that's really quite solid. This is how it works. First of all, you butt it up against a piece of wood, like that. So if you want to mark 40mm, you find the 40mm hole, pop your pencil in it, mark it along. Because you use it for all lines on your piece, and it's so easy to slide along, but is it square? That's absolutely spot on. That's a good one. This cost me £13. The closest I could find on Amazon was around £30. That makes this very good value. Let's do another. A box. Temu, well done. It's the least breakable item you could have put in a box. This is a mini pocket hole jig. I love my big Craig pocket hole. I love it, but it is useless for taking into a tight space. It's just not good for that. It's good for repeat work prior to building. I can just clamp this onto a piece of wood and drill a pocket hole wherever I fancy putting one. Now, what you get, 3 different sizes of brad point drill bits, a load of these bits that go inside the threaded holes to keep the drill bits straight, and then you get the collars so you can set your depth. One of these collars has come without the grub screw inside it, so you can't tighten it on. So that entire drill bit is useless. What I am realising now is that's not for pocket holes unless you drill it twice. Are they expecting me to drill a big hole and then follow it through with a little hole? Take the big one out, then put the little one in. That's seems like an awful lot of work. This isn't very good. So for the next ones, we've got some really simple bits that I don't think are possible to mess up. First one, an automatic center punch. You should just push it down and it makes a hole. £5 on Amazon. This is something that I saw and couldn't resist. Just couldn't. They are just painter's triangles. You balance a workpiece on them and you can paint it. These were 10 for £2.50. Amazon, it's £7. I'll make your own square. I'm gonna give it a fair shot and try lining it up so that it is square at the bottom. You have a distance along the bottom there, you have a height along here, and you have square, what I would imagine has to be 45 degrees. Let's check the square is square. Flush at the bottom, gap at the top. The 45 is 45, but the square is not square. If this is riding on a bit of wood, let's say this is thicker because that's what it's more designed for, you really want this to be square on the board. So let's draw a line, turn the square over, draw another line next to it. They are parallel. So before I toss this away for part of it not being square, actually the bit that I probably need is square. Is it worth the money? Well, it costs £7. Its equivalent on Amazon costs £14. So that, despite its tough start, I'm actually going to keep. I think that'll be useful. Now, we love this one. Surely its little brother has got to be just as good, right? That is the 60mm version of the 260mm version that I've just tested. Bear with me. Yeah, it's square. This is really good for doing exactly what the big one does, but on smaller pieces. It's a more pocket-held job. £6. Doesn't say woodpecker on it, but that's not bad for £6. Amazon, £9. I have some of these already. These are self-centering drill bits, and they are brilliant for doing hinges or anything that you need to drill the center of a hole that is already defined, such as a hinge when you want to drill to put the screws in. If you want more detail on this, I've got an 8 tools for starters video where I talk in depth about why I think these are phenomenal. But in a nutshell, when you've got items like hinges or door furniture of any kind, you tend to get a tapered hole in there that you put the screw in so that the screw head can sit nice and flush with the top. The reason you want to drill centrally in these is so that when the screw goes in with its tapered head, it doesn't pull the hinge or whatever you're fitting to the side by being off center. The issue I had with these cheaper ones is a couple of things. One, it's not tapered on the top. So on smaller holes, it may not find the center as easily of the fluted outside. Minor detail, but the biggest problem was they're very clunky. You can hear everything grinding when you're trying to use them, and they tend to break. I've had a few of these where this bit has actually fallen straight off. These expensive ones are really well made. They're well engineered. You cannot hear the grinding inside. They are just a very high quality build. So what I'm hoping is that these Temu ones are somewhere in between. They've got a much smoother action. They've got a nice stiff spring, but they've got a much smoother action coming out. And I can see they have a slightly fluted head. But do they work as well as the Bosch? Watch the drill bit spin on the Bosch to start with. That is absolutely perfectly centered. My original cheap bits, not even close. As you can see there, it's slightly off on the top. The Bosch itself doesn't have any play sideways. This, there's actually play between the two pieces. And that's just down to how cheap it is. However, if you're not going to use it a lot, then it will do a job for you. And I'm not disappointed with my outlay. 3 of these, different sizes, £4.30. 3 of the Bosch ones, £30. And a pack of 8 of the cheap ones that I've had for a long time now, £9. If you're on Temu and buying other stuff, definitely get them instead of the cheap ones. However, me, for the amount I do, I'll always go with those. Have you ever had a Phillips head screw and your drill not change the torque correctly and strip the head on it? You're not sure it's tight, so you... And then you're still not sure it's tight, so you... But then you need to take it out because you've put it in the wrong place. But you can't because you've stripped the Phillips head. It may come out with one of these. The way these work is that they have a threaded top and it's basically threaded in reverse to the screw. But there's only one way of testing it. Hope the thread does its job. Got it on reverse. I'm not sure that that is a good tool. And I'm really upset because I really wanted it to be. And now I have a block of wood that is attached to my workbench. Looking at them closer, it's actually stripped some of the thread already. That's rubbish. If you're thinking about buying it, don't. I use these quite a bit, these burs. They are basically, what I use them for is if I'm in a pinch and I need to take out a certain shaped groove, these things are brilliant. Now I have some carbide ones that I got cheap off Amazon. They come in a set of 10, they've got these kind of shapes, but they're a little bit smaller. So what I needed was something a bit bigger. They look like the paint on them is sharper than the actual bit. Nope. These are nowhere near as good as the carbide ones. Looking at the teeth on these, one of them has them very nicely laid out in a bladed kind of pattern, whereas these are just, I think they're molded. £3.50. And on Amazon, it's £8.50 for a similar set. So for value, okay, that's pretty good. But would I actually say you should go out and buy them? No. No, I think there's better ways of getting the job done. 3 more items to go, and these are the big ticket items. These are probably the most expensive things that I bought. Here's the first. A box. That's nice. They are corner clamps. Basically, you want to hold 2 pieces of wood together in a right angle. This is what people go to. Now, are they square? Quick check on the outside, which is the bit you're actually, generally speaking, going to be referencing with your workpiece. So I noticed these bars have got a very slight angle on them. I'm assuming that that is to pull it tight with the work. So far, that was a faff. And I'm not sure it's actually the tool itself from Temu. I think, how do people, I see some people putting cabinets together where they've got 12 of these set up. And I think, that's a lot. Who's holding the piece while you're setting this up? Anyway, check for square. Okay, it's square as we expect it to be. However, I can already see, yeah, we are way off. I'm really not happy with how this tool works, and I'm going to do a little bit more research because it could be me. Hope it's not, but in all honesty, I think it comes down to the kink at the end of these bars. It's a shame because they look quite well made. £25, 25 for the 2, which I thought was quite a lot. And then I looked on Amazon and they're 27, so I did save £2, but I still consider that quite a lot if it doesn't do the job I want it to do. It's a shame. A lot of joints need to be strengthened. That's where probably you'll be looking at something like a dowel jig. Putting skirts around table legs, for instance, you might want to reach for some dowels and line everything up and give it strength. I have never had a dowel jig that I like or that works, because what I tend to find is, I think I've lined it up, but actually the wood sits proud and I've got no idea what I've done wrong. So I bought one. Instructions. If I can get it to do a panel correctly with no lip, ow, I will consider that a success. I think the first thing worth noting here is that the build quality looks a little bit janky around there. Next thing, using our precision pencil and our new large T-square, let's just mark 2 points where we want to dowel. There's marking through this window that you line up with the line on your block, and then you clamp it down. This is going very well so far. Let's put that there for later. But first, let's drill the first of our dowels. And then the second one. What's important, I think, with any of these dowel jigs, just reference off the same side. Make sure it's seated flush, so there's no gap between the black of the central piece and the wood, otherwise you're going to be drilling in at an angle. Quick check on the central line. Well, either both bits of kit are wrong or both are right. Either way. Moment of truth. Lines perfectly lined up, and taking a look down the board, it's as flat as it was ever going to be. I'm not disappointed. It was a whopping £19. It's £23 on Amazon for something similar to this. And this last one, I think, is the priciest. I'm hoping to get something pretty impressive. Fours and a bit. Oh, a punch and a box. This was £21. I tend to use these soft close cabinet hinges quite a lot. They work really well, but they can be a faff to fit. And a jig is going to make your life easier, repeatable and accurate. Let's look at the fours and a bit. Possibly looks like the most aggressive fours and a bit with the extra teeth that I've ever seen. Now the jig itself. Oh, that's going to be fantastic. It's so adjustable with 0 instructions. Absolutely nothing. It's got all this adjustability. Look, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6 what? Theoretically, to have this and this in a little drawer, this amount of space, to know that that will do all of your cabinet hinges, which can be a real pain in the bum. Let's just see if it works. Hog it out until the base stops you going further. That's done a really clean job. Top. Yeah, no, it's 12. That's bang on 12 mil on either side. So I know that that is coming out square. This needs to sit on the door. I think from looking at this, these holes are going to be for that. But surely, if we do use that, that's miles away. Let's try it first. Well, that's miles away. Roughly, where you want it is going to be like that, so that the door sits inside, opens, and then comes back. Why this doesn't do the other side could be me. It could be. And I presume this triangle here is so that you can mark the door and the cabinet a bit further back, and then you can line this up on both pieces. I like that, but I don't understand why these are not in the right place. If they had instructions, I'd know how to use it. Now, do I like the jig as a whole? Yes, I actually do, because the hardest bit to do is the hogging out and making sure that the main bit of the hinge is in the right place. And it's got it absolutely flush with a tiny bit of adjusting on the screws. I don't think I got ripped off on price on any of these. I think that actually, price for price compared with Amazon, I think I was still better on 90% of them, if not all of them. That wasn't the problem. As you can see from packaging and instructions, that's the one problem with most of these that I've come up against, and or poor quality. Now, to finish this off, I was going to put these in order, but I can make it even simpler than that. Everything at this end is rubbish. Avoid it at all costs. These two could be me, and there's minor discrepancies with them. They may work for you. These do exactly what it says on the tin. They're not setting the world alight, but they're cheap for what they are. The jigs, well, I'm blaming myself for any flaws in them, so they're pretty good. And stars of the show, right here. Simple marking tools. So when you're starting off woodworking and you want to get into finer woodworking where you need more detail, these are good. And there is also another moral to this story. The tools you rely on, those that you pick up for every single job, spend it once, spend it well, push comes to shove. If you can guarantee something's square, it's a good start. Overall, would I buy from Temu tools again? I'd like to say no, but I know myself well. I get tempted. And sometimes it's fun to buy cheap, shiny things. But I know the risks, and hopefully so do you now. It's not guaranteed that because of the packaging and the lack of instruction that you're going to get a tool that you can actually put to use. So write that into the risk that you associate with the purchase. If you've got a local shop, a family-run business that sells tools and you can afford them and you're happy with the quality, I would always go there first. As for my overall experience with Temu, the website is a jumble. So go on there and know what you're purchasing potentially before you start. And ask yourself, do I really need that? I took a safe approach on it. I bought everything on a credit card, PayPal, anything that gives you a bit of protection, just gives you a bit of peace of mind. And I hate to say it, but I'd even set up a new email address just to make the purchase because mine is now full of spam and it started on the day that I made the purchase. It might be a coincidence. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed making it. And if you love tool reviews, tool recommendations, that's a good one. If you want to see how this workshop's coming along, because clearly things have been happening, the videos will be on that playlist. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you over there.